Good morning and happy Saturday. If you're looking for a fun movie to watch this weekend, this short video is for you. Welcome to Now Showing. I'm going to be looking at three movies that dropped this weekend, two on streaming and one in theaters. First up, the new Netflix film Damsel. It's always fun to have a good weekend action film to drop to streaming, and that's the case today or Friday as we about the new film Damsel on Netflix. It stars Millie Bobby Brown of Stranger Things in a role as a princess that finds herself in a spot of trouble. But as the film makes clear in the early going, this isn't the story of a woman that needs to be rescued by a prince. Instead, she does the rescuing. Elodie is the eldest daughter of Lord Bayford, played by Ray Winstone, in a kingdom that is struggling with poverty and a lack of resources. When Queen Isabel, Robin Wright, sends word that she'd pay a fortune for Elodie to marry her son, Prince Henry, Nick Robinson, an opportunity is born. The kingdom is beautiful and its people welcoming enough, but Queen Isabel is somewhat icy. That causes Elodie's stepmother, played by Angela Bassett, to have some misgivings. Despite her plea, Elodie goes through with the union to help save her people. Soon she realizes it's a ruse and she's in over her head. Queen Isabel needs young women to join the royal family line because the land, while beautiful, lives under a curse. To keep the kingdom and its people safe, they have to make some sacrifices. So you can probably guess where this is going. Damsel is not a film that's exactly hard to predict. Um, Brown is a good young star. We've seen her take the lead as a hero in both series and films previously. It's no surprise to see her playing kind of an action hero here. Unfortunately, it's in service of a mediocre story. She's good in the lead role. Some of the effects in the world building are effective. I like the visual style at times, some of the action set pieces. There's a nice little resolution to the story too, but overall the stakes here don't feel impressive. The characters aren't particularly well drawn either. In fact, most seem to fall into one note caricatures rather than fully fleshed out characters. There's some entertaining moments, but mostly it's predictable and not overly compelling. Again, Brown's a good young star, but the film around her in this case is mostly a dud for me. It is now streaming on Netflix, but I'm only giving it 2 stars out of 5. Well, how about the next one? Let's move to theaters for Kung Fu Panda 4. When a film franchise can last 16 years and 4 films, you have to respect it. And that's the case with the Kung Fu Panda franchise. It started in 2008, still going strong, and has a new release in theaters this week. In the latest installment of the Jack Black led franchise, change is brewing. Poe, voiced by Black, is the dragon warrior. He's got the staff of wisdom. He's content to kick butt and use his celebrity to help his fathers. Ping, voiced by James Hong, and Lee, voiced by Bryan Cranston, as they open their new restaurant. The Master Shifu, voiced by Dustin Hoffman, knows it's time for Poe to break free from his comfort zone. While he's the Dragon Warrior, his destiny is to move to the next level and become the great spiritual leader while training another to take his place. Poe auditions some candidates, but he can't find one that feels right. In the meantime, he learns there's a new threat to the realm. With the Furious Five away on other business, Poe decides to take on this challenge himself. To aid his search, he enlists a crafty fox, Zed, voiced by Aquafina, who knows where this new shape-shifting villain, voiced by Viola Davis, resides. But is Poe strong enough to overcome a villain who wants to use sorcery to become the greatest warrior of all time? That's the challenge in this film. I noted at the top, it's impressive when a franchise has staying power, and that's been true of this franchise. It remains pretty popular with younger viewers through its 4th installment. I screened this film in a theater full of younger viewers, a lot of kids, many of whom laughed and cheered throughout the 90-minute film. Black does a nice job in the lead role, and this has a strong voice cast. I liked the addition of Aquafina. I thought she was fun, had kind of a fun character. I thought Davis was pretty solid as the villain. I also always enjoy kind of Hoffman's Master Shifu. These are brightly colored films with an easy to follow story and some humor. They're enjoyable enough while you're watching them, but for me, they don't stick much beyond that. The latest installment is similar. The story is good enough. The characters and the look are fun, but my interest pretty much ends at the credits, although I will say Jack Black's cover of Britney Spears over the end credits was a lot of fun. So far, we haven't gotten a lot of family-friendly options in theaters in 2024, so it's nice to have this one. I'm sure it'll be a big hit with younger viewers and a nice break for families. There were many of the kids in the theater screening that I went to that were delighted to see Poe back in action. The rest of the movie is just pretty much fine for me, kind of like the rest one of them. This isn't the most dynamic animated series for me. It was enjoyable enough. I'm giving it 2 stars out of 5. A good family film to take your kids to see at the theater. Last up, we have Prime Video's entry. This one actually started streaming on Thursday, and that is the comedy Ricky Stanicky, directed by Peter Farrelly. Pals Dean, played by Zac Efron, JT, played by Andrew Santino, and Wes, played by Jermaine Fowler, have been friends for a long time. They've also been making trouble for a long time, but they've always had an out. Ricky Stanicky. He's the friend they created when they were first in a jam as boys. Now, 20 years later, he's their excuse for everything that goes wrong and every time they want to get away. But when their families become suspicious, it's time to produce Ricky or admit to the lie. So what do? They hire a down on his luck actor named Rod, played by John Cena, to play the part and get the families off their back. And at first it works, but it also puts them in jeopardy when it turns out Rod isn't ready to give up the role of a lifetime. This is kind of a wild comedic premise. The basic cast is solid. It seems like there's plenty of opportunity for jokes. If you watch the credits, you'll see 6 credited writers, including director Peter Farrelly, that are credited with the screenplay. In addition, there's 2 more writers credited with the original story. That's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And I think throughout the production, you sometimes feel it. At times, a film feels like it's all over the place. There are some amusing moments, but the story is fairly predictable. And to me, none of the characters really had much depth. I didn't really totally understand their bond or what they were doing. Things just seemed kind of tacked on. And that comes despite the fact that the film runs almost 2 hours. It felt a little bit too long. And despite this talented cast, it was more fizzle than sizzle for me. I liked the potential, but it didn't really all come together in the way I'd hoped. As I mentioned, this one is now streaming on Prime Video. I'm also giving it 2 stars out of 5. So 3 new releases, none of them were particularly compelling for me. It probably depends on your own taste. You can decide which one you would like to check out. That's a wrap on this episode of Now Showing, giving you a look at a couple of the new films out this weekend. If you want to keep up with everything I'm watching, feel free to follow me on Letterboxd at Nighthawk7734. Eric and I are taking the week off because the Oscars go live at 7 Eastern on Sunday. I will probably be back on Monday with a quick reaction to the winners. I'm expecting a pretty heavy Oppenheimer sweep. I have my picks out. Eric and I made some picks on last week's episode that you can check out as well. Hope you guys have a great weekend and find some fun, relaxing times at the movies.